Well, yesterday I promised you a really quick update on, after I got things cleaned up, what it looks like. So I'm going to be talking about that, why I'm mulching now, and I haven't in the past at this time of year. We're also going to do a walk around in Taylor's Denver garden, how she is handling some of these weather extremes. And then most importantly, I am going to share with you my biggest mistake that I make any time of year when the weather doesn't cooperate. Well, in terms of performance, I think for my own yard with these really extreme weather events, what has not performed up to my expectation is what I think of as the supporting cast in the symphony that is spring. So finally, the tulips are starting to come up. Some of them are not blooming as best as they should, and I'm very concerned about when they do come up, they're going to bloom very fast, and then they will probably expire very fast because of the hot conditions we're expected to have, 99 to 100 this weekend, and high winds. So they will be very short-lived, so I need to make sure to take all of my pictures now. But the other thing that is keeping it from looking its best, and that is that so many things kind of got nipped that add to the overall effect. Things like, well, some of the boxwood, some of the abelias that got nipped, things that normally would have started greening up right now, even some of the evergreens, like the fire chief arborvitaes and things of that nature. The biggest, probably the biggest disappointment for me is that the encore azaleas, they were going to bloom really, really well. Normally I get great later in the year bloom that's just really spectacular, but this year they finally are established enough that I was going to get great spring bloom too. Well, a lot of those blooms, not all of them, but a lot of those blooms got nipped. There will be, they're not dead, they will come out again, but it's that layering in the garden that I just don't have that I typically do. The other thing, well, when we come back, I'm going to tell you the other thing that I think really took a hit, and for me, a very surprising hit. Okay, you guys, I just came in from outside and it's drizzly and rainy, and I have very frizzy hair, no good hair. However, my hair is not nearly as frizzy as it would be had I not been using my Kitsch shampoo and conditioner. And I can just take them out of my little well draining. You can see the suction cups on the back. And I can just take both of them and put them in their respective beauty bar bag. And again, it'll just make traveling, packing, everything easier. And I'll have my favorite hair care products with me when I go. And boy, is Kitsch popular. It has sold over 16 million shampoo and conditioner bars. And if you want to be one of those that has been sold, then just click on my link to receive 25% off your order, which will auto-apply at checkout. It's right on the screen below. And remember that Kitsch ships in the United States and internationally to over 90 countries. Now, you may recall that in the fall, I planted my pansies and violas all up and down the walkway to the front door, and also along the edge on the berms and in other areas. And typically this time of year, they're still going strong. They're absolutely beautiful. But what I noticed this year is that they just can't handle that going from extreme cold to extreme heat. And so a lot of them I've had to pull out because they're starting to do this. They're just kind of beginning to rot. Part of that is operator error. This is a perfect example, especially of the violas. That's operator error because some of these I overwatered to get more germination on the things that I seeded a little bit later, and because it has just been so dry. So some of the things in the foreground have gotten overwatered, and that has contributed to the decline of some of this seasonal color. So that's another member of the supporting cast that isn't performing up to my expectations and makes me kind of modify what I'll do in the future. And what is that? Well, I think along these areas where I like to have them. I probably just won't plant as many of them in the future, and I'll rely more heavily on maybe some perennials that will bloom and will be less of a waste of money and won't get waterlogged like this. And what is that, you say? Well, here's my first question of the day. I would like your input. I'm thinking about, in addition to the nepeta and the scabiosa that's planted along here, you know, maybe I'm going to introduce something for spring bloom that I can then kind of cut back later. So if you'll walk with me up here, Stuart, I'm going to show you what that is, because I think it'll be really beautiful. And that is candy tuft. So candy tuft will give me color. It will give me some of the romance that I'm missing from the other members, again, of the supporting cast that really give a textural component that elevates it and I think puts the show over the top. So I think a drift of this all along the borders might be a good thing. So I'm considering that. I want to know what you think. I have not historically grown it any other way than in pots, and if you have, let me know kind of how hard I can cut it back after it blooms, because I do want to make space for the other companions, the other seasonal companions that come up in, you know, late spring, summer, and in the fall, to be able to have their space too. The other thing that I did not do that I regret in my mix, I have a great mix, and it is a standard one that I've used for years, the French Rose blend from Color Blends, and I added some additional Menton tulips. What I didn't add this year, and now I regret, and that is the Vidal tulips. Those are all in white. They bloom progressively in white throughout the spring season, and I don't know why I decided not to do it this year, and now I regret it. I will definitely do it next year, especially if I decide to plant candy tuft along these borders. Now, I showed you in the last video how I decided to go ahead and mulch these beds in the spring. Typically, I don't do that, and I don't do it because by now, normally, I have what I think of as living mulch. And if you look at that side, you'll see what I mean. It's very, very full. Stuart, can we pan? Yeah, pan over there. It's very, very full with plant material, so that prevents the soil drying out, some of the soil blowing away, all of those kinds of things to help ensure that the moisture stays in the ground and doesn't whisk away. Well, over here, it's not so densely planted anymore because I lost that rose, and I'm waiting for other things to grow in and get larger. The other reason that I typically don't mulch this time of year is because I don't want to cover up the tender seedlings that are all going to grow up in here once the temperatures are amenable to them. Things like the dill that I seeded, there's still some larkspur in there, poppies, minoan lace. There's all sorts of baby seedlings in here that I really don't want to suffocate. But what I decided to do was mix that 50-50 blend of Happy Grow and black cow manure. I got both of them at Lowe's. We mixed them in a 50-50 blend, and then we just put a light sprinkling of mulch on top of all of this for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, presentability, because the ground here it was uneven, it looked dry and desiccated, and I wanted something that would look dark and moist. So that's number one. Number two, of course, just the practical implications of putting down mulch when you're going to have severe cold, severe heat, high winds, and all of them excessive. So that's another reason that I wanted to get down a layer of mulch. This side is really, really slow, and that again is because of the aforementioned weather extremes, but it will recover. Another thing that I noticed over here that I didn't mention the other day is all of these white weddings, I mean, they have performed fabulously. Stuart, right here, let's put some pictures of the white wedding hydrangeas. Even the new foliage didn't take a hit. They're not going to have to start over at all. What I noticed did have to start over are the big-leafed, big-headed, mop-head hydrangeas, Dear Dolores. I've got those planted in here, and they were getting ready to bloom all the way up the cane. Those buds froze back. They are not dead. They will bloom, but it will be far later, and a lot of the blooms are going to have to grow up from the base. But did they survive? Absolutely, they did survive. It's just that the whole timing of everything that's in bloom is going to be different, and that makes me very nervous, and I'll tell you why it makes me very nervous when we come back. And speaking of white wedding hydrangeas, I think they are the best hydrangeas for containers. So if you are wanting to grow them in some kind of, and albeit large containers, then I definitely would select white wedding. They are just fabulous. I grew them for years at the other house. Maybe we can drop some pictures in here. At the other house, I grew them in containers, and they were absolutely fabulous. These gorgeous white wedding hydrangeas look absolutely spectacular right now. I've planted them in 3 fiberglass lightweight pots that I can then move to wherever they need to be to get the most impact and the most drama. So I can move them to my front porch, I can move them back into the garden bed, I can move them out of areas where they're getting way too much sun and it will shorten the life of the bloom itself. And in essence, I can just move them anywhere. So it's a beautiful idea for plop in color. Take a favorite shrub like these white weddings and then literally put them in lightweight pots and plop them wherever you need them in your late summer garden. And in fact, this year I might do some of that as well. I'm thinking about that. Okay, but now let's take a break, and I want to share with you my outfit of the day, because this is the blouse that my sister got for like $4.99. It's actually a men's shirt in small, and she got this, and this is one of the items that she sent me, and I thought it was kind of fun to style it with turquoise jewelry, because to me that's kind of an unexpected pairing. So I've got some pretty gold and turquoise, another unusual pairing that I got at TJ Maxx, in addition to this necklace that I got at TJ Maxx. And these other little gold chains, these are all, I think I just got these online, maybe from Amazon. So that's that. My breeches are from Target. They're just those wide-legged, high-waisted jeans. I really like them. And these are just some Puma tennis shoes. Very, very comfortable. I'm going for comfy chic today, and thanks to my sister Meg. In fact, Stuart, right here, because so many of you asked, let's put a picture of my sister Meg, who is beautiful, and I wish that I had her creativity when it comes to styling clothes, because she really knows how to do it well. So when we come back, I'll talk a little bit about some more things that I am not going to do, and wait till the end, because I'm going to tell you the biggest mistake that I make in every season when the weather doesn't perform up to my expectations, hence the garden doesn't perform up to my expectations. And one more thing, was that not the cutest picture ever of Danny on the thumbnail? Wow. Yeah, Stuart said, okay, we need to put Danny on every thumbnail, because she is just so adorable, and yes, she is. I agree. So that maybe we'll put another picture of her up at the end. She had an absolutely precious St. Patrick's Day costume that was adorable. So when we come back, I'll share some more tips. Okay, grab your journal, because now is the time that we all want to walk around our gardens and say, okay, these things just did not work. They may have not worked just this year. They may have not worked for multiple years, and I'm not going to do them anymore. And one thing I'm not going to do anymore is I am not going to plant tulips or daffodils in this window box anymore. I was kind of basing the design on my previous window box, which was wider, and I could have tulips and things of that nature in here. But this one is narrow grower, and it's just not working. So all of these daffodils I will plant down on autumn's edge with the other ones. I will not plant any more tulips in here. You can see in the background there was some. And the other thing that I'm not going to do anymore is I might also plant some perennials in here, some blooming perennials, so that I don't have to rely again so heavily on the violas and the pansies. So I'm thinking about that. But I'm not going to beat myself up too much, because what worked brilliantly were these cones of Skylight Better boxwood. These are looking great. They took a little bit of a hit with the foliage, but pretty soon, right before Easter, I'm going to come back and I'm going to prune all of my boxwood again, because they've gotten a little bit raggedy and because there's a little bit of new growth on here that got frostbit. So I'm going to be doing that, but that is for later, and I'm going to do it right before Easter. Let's see, anything else in here that I'm not going to do again next year? Some of you may say, hey, Linda, I bet you're not going to bring some of your things out of the greenhouse quite so early. And I have to say no. I would probably have gone ahead and brought those out, because I was able to protect most things. And the things that expired, I'd had some of those geraniums for years, and I knew if I lost them, I wouldn't be heartbroken. So there you go. And when we come back, I'm going to share with you my biggest mistake I make every year, and something I do kick myself about. Okay, it's not all bad news and gloom. However, one thing that is blooming earlier but is helping to fill some of those gaps in my spring show, and that's the East Friesland salvia. I've got some there. I've got some pockets of it up here. And last year I actually thinned it out quite a bit. Now I regret thinning it out quite so much. But a lot of it went to seed and will be maturing and coming into its own compact pockets of blue bloom here before too long. It is the perfect color echo for that shade of pansy, and I do love the way it looks. So it's not all bloom, bloom doom, or whatever. Okay, but I digress. So here's the biggest mistake I made every single year. And I realized this when a couple was walking by and they said, oh, your garden is just always so beautiful. And they thanked me for it, and I thanked them. And I said, but it's been a rough year. Because what I tend to do in every season is I compare whatever is happening now to the best spring I ever had, to the best summer I ever had, to the best fall I ever had. The iconic pictures that we show you over and over again, that we all look at over and over again, and that is the pinnacle of what we are trying to achieve in our gardens. And that's just not the way it is. You have to just look at things and say, okay, this is still beautiful. It may not be as beautiful as it was in year X, but nevertheless, it's still beautiful. People still admire it. Most of them don't realize that it could be far more beautiful than it is. They are unrealistic expectations in our time of extreme weather events and climate change. And so I just need to get over that. I need to just appreciate what things seem to be doing well, recording what is doing well, planting more of what is doing well, and not always. It's like comparing your children. You know, you don't compare one child against the other child, or we try not to. So I need to quit comparing one garden year over another garden year, because all it does is make me dissatisfied. It affects my self-esteem, because I think, oh, you did it in the past, but you can't do it this year, even though I really had little control over any of the outcome. So tell me your thoughts on that. I so appreciated your comments about your weather events all over the country. It's not so much from a sense of schadenfreude, but because it made me feel less alone. And And hopefully when I show you my failures in extreme weather, it makes you feel less alone too and not quite so frustrated. We're all in this together on this channel, and I just hope you can sense that. So thank you so much for sharing that information with me, because it was really, really helpful. It put things in context for me here at the cottage, and it made me feel less alone. But now I want to share. Let me see if I can find it, Stuart. And I took a screenshot of it so we can put it up. I love so many of your comments, but this one really stuck out to me. And this is from an Atlanta gardener. Atlanta gardener, that's the handle. As I nurture my grief about the losses of weather extremes, I also walk around and celebrate the things that survived. I have been known to tell them, good job, well done, and make mental notes about what to plant more of and less of in the future. And sometimes I plant marginal things that I love anyway because they're garden risks worth taking. And I just love the way she walks around, and it's like maybe that Japanese thing. Thank you for your service. Thank you, things that look really beautiful. I appreciate it. Well done, you. Well done, you. So I encourage you to do that as well. And I'd hope to get to some of the things we talked about in Taylor's Colorado garden. I think we may have run out of time, but I will definitely share some of that with you. And if you're good, I might share some more Danny pictures. You guys take care. I hope you can join me on March 28th. I think I have been saying March 27th, but March 28th at 2:30 at Commonplace Bookstore. We're going to have a meet and greet. There might or might not be refreshments. I'll be signing books, and I'll also be sharing with you some of my favorite gardening books that they've got there at the shop. So I hope you can join us then, and I am absolutely giddy thinking about meeting with all of you on May 1st. You guys take care.